My name is Carolyn Gable, and I have been called to do a show. And I have lived here in this home up in Lake Geneva for 7 years. And there have been so many inspirational miracles that have happened over 7 years. Not for myself, but for many, many people that have come here, that have walked the path. To the 25,000 people that have walked the path, you may know the story, but when I bought the home, I put inspirational quotes all along the path. In order to own a home in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, you have to be able to let the walkers go 25 miles around the lake. And there are some homes that are very inviting, and there's some that they really don't want you there. But my goal was that I was going to make it inviting for every walker, that I was going to show everybody that when they're on the lake and they look up at these homes that we're all the same. So what I did is I started putting inspirational, I hired a muralist, and he put inspirational quotes on the fence. Little did I know that that was the purpose for why I was to own this home. God has been very good to me. I have been blessed beyond my wildest dreams. And I'm always in the state of, where can I give back? How can I help? What can I do? And I have been asked many times, why don't you have your own show? Why don't you, I'm such an advocate for women and for women's journeys and what they go for. And I'm a single mom, had been a single mom, struggling single mom. So I'm always being called. What can you do to help? So anyway, as life will happen, everything kind of fell together, and the show is now called Life's Calling. So what's the purpose of the show? The purpose of the show is not to make anybody feel guilty that they haven't lived their life's purpose. The goal is to help you on your journey. Oftentimes we have parents that are supportive, maybe an aunt or an uncle, but there aren't a lot of shows. There are some books, of course, but not a lot of shows that will help you to tap into our pot of gold. And I believe that when God created all of us, He gave us all a pot of gold, in our own oil field. Throughout the course of these episodes, web series, you're going to hear a bell ring. And on the path is a big bell. And on the bell it says, ring the bell and expect miracles to happen. So as you're watching and you're listening and you hear a bell in the background, that means that somebody is walking in the path and they're ringing the bell and they're asking for a miracle to happen in their life. So this show is going to bring people that have gone through adversity, are going through adversity, have felt the calling, have been tapped on the shoulder, and know that they have been tapped on the shoulder to do something bigger in this world. It's not a news flash. We're all going to die. We can't take anything with us. Our whole entire journey of life is going to be underground when we die. But the soul will move on. So isn't it a great idea to say to the soul, where can we work together? So this is my life, and I am thrilled that you have decided to join me. I was born the fourth of 6 children in a Catholic family that was extremely poor. My parents met, they were both in the Marine Corps, they met during the war, and they set out to have this great marriage and all these children. We went to Catholic school. My parents couldn't really afford the tuition, they couldn't afford the mortgage payment, but they made it work. Unfortunately, at the age of 42, my father passed away, and my mother was left to raise 6 children. I didn't really like school. There are some kids that are really into school, into education. I was more social. I really wanted to talk more and find out more about people. I was always curious. I mean, I was an okay student, but I never really wanted to go on to college. All my siblings did, but I didn't. So I got a job as a beautician. I went to beauty school and then got a job as a waitress. I really loved being a waitress. But little did I know that I was really getting a PhD in life. So when I was a waitress, I had a great job. I worked at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare. Unfortunately, they closed down for renovations, and I was forced to look for other work. I was a single mom. I had 2 kids. It was very difficult. I had to work 2 or 3 jobs just to pay the bills. And we went back to work. I'll never forget it. It was over Labor Day weekend, and a terrible storm had hit Chicago, and it blew the roof off of the Hyatt. And I worked at the top revolving restaurant at the Hyatt. And we were all going to be forced to be off of work for 3 months. It was very difficult. It was a very difficult time for me because I thought, I'm not going to do this anymore. I've got to get out of waitressing. And I went to every employment agency. Every job application was filled out, and everybody said no. Because I was a waitress, because I didn't have an education, no one valued the experience that I could bring to the table. And to be really honest, I didn't even know. I did not know that all the tools that I had learned of coping, of making life work at $20 a night tips, or praying for $200 to pay my bills, how that all worked. I was a novice. I was in my infancy of realizing how to expect miracles, how to pray for them, how to see how, oh my God, I really, really need the money for the mortgage, not the mortgage, but the rent. And all of a sudden a big tipper came in and tipped me $100. So as I put it all together, I realized that things were gonna happen. I never gave up hope. I was always hopeful. My faith always led me to a place where I'm gonna get out of this. It's gonna get better. One day I went to a trucking company and they hired me. And that's when the big door opened for me. And they were double doors because no one wanted me. Absolutely nobody felt that I was capable of doing anything more than being a waitress. That is my family, that were people that I knew, that was where I worked. When you're a waitress, you're tagged, that you're limited. And it is really the ironic part of life because a waitress really has more skills, more capabilities than people that have MBAs. I think the biggest challenges that I have had in my journey is that I'm my own worst enemy. I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I'm always pushing the cart. I'm always, what's next? What can I do? How can I make it happen? When I got the job in the trucking company, the man who hired me said, I will hire you under one condition, that you never, ever, ever come to me and say you want to get in sales. Well, of course, I want to get in sales, but I wanted the job more than I wanted to get in sales, so I agreed to it. And it was maybe 3 months later, I started asking him about getting in sales, and he's like, you made a promise to me, and the VPs came in from the company one day, and it was my magic moment. You know, the 20 seconds of courage. I got up and said, I want to get in sales. And they put me in sales. And I absolutely knew that this was the time, that I was going to make it all happen. And it did happen. But through that journey, it took a lot of courage. I still had to work 2 jobs. I didn't know if it was going to work. I had no idea. So I was still working at the Hyatt. I was still working at this trucking company. I still had children at home. But we all got through it. So the trials and the tribulations only made me stronger. And I think that's what I always want to convey to people. That you're going through trials, you're going through tribulations, you're going through awful times. But it's only a preparation for something very big that is coming to you. The pendulum swings both ways. So whenever you're in the worst part of your life, you say to yourself, something good's coming. Something good is coming, because you know that pendulum is going to swing to the other end. There are a lot of negative people that I really have to agree with Dr. Phil that there is some type of glory that they get from it. Because why would you want to be negative? What purpose does it serve for anybody in this world, especially in this country that we live in, where human rights are honored and freedoms, and women can walk across the street, and I mean, there aren't machine guns on every corner. There's so many possibilities. There are women today that are breaking through the glass ceiling. So there's no reason to be negative. Sure, you made mistakes. We all make mistakes. I made 1 million of them. I will continue to make 1 million of them, because that's life. But don't dwell in it. Okay, you made the mistake, what's the lesson? And then you move on. And once you can do that, once you can say, okay, no one is going to go into a marriage thinking they're going to get a divorce. No one's going into a relationship thinking they're going to break up. No, it's just not how we think. But it happens. We all make mistakes. You just have to regroup, forgive yourself, love yourself, and move on. Spirituality runs like a thread throughout my entire life. It always has. And when I was a young child, like I said, my parents were devout Catholics, so I was taught at a very, very early age that in times of trouble to pray, that God would listen, and the saints will listen, and your guardian angel will listen. And there are so many times in my life where, wow, my guardian angel did. I was driving the other day and 3 deer just jumped out in front of my car. In a nanosecond, I could have been hit. I don't take that anymore. I've gotten to the point in my life where I know, wow, okay, there was a greater force than me there. So I think what happens as we get older and the wisdom starts to really kick in, we kind of know what we know when we're younger, but as we get older, we own it. And we know that we are here for a reason, we're here for a purpose, and it is so much bigger than we can ever imagine. So open the possibilities, open the mind, but have your base so strong into something. I mean, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, I have very strong faith. It doesn't make a difference what you call it, but have a belief in yourself that you can make a difference. I can take just about anything. As a business owner, you know, there's so many things that happen that throughout the course of the day, year, whatever, my relationship with my children, my friends, honesty and trust are the core. When you have that, you can have solid relationships in business and family life, because you know they always have your back. Once you're dealing with people that are dishonest, that you can't trust, you got to get out. You got to get out. If it doesn't feel right, you know, we all have that intuition. I'm being lied to. This doesn't feel right. This relationship, whether it's business, whether it's love, doesn't feel good. He's not being honest with me. That customer's not being honest with me, and we have to move on. So that's why honesty and trust is so important to me. I believe that honesty and trust are 2 of the main core characteristics that people have to have in life. I would say my greatest skill is the love that flows through me. And in no way, shape, or form do I feel like I'm a Mother Teresa or anybody even close to that. But I do feel that God has blessed me with an abundance of love. What I find here in this home when I'm here, there are people that walk the path, that write in the book, you know, thank you so much for allowing this, for allowing me this moment in time to reflect, to connect with my mother that passed, or some come and pray the rosary in front of the Blessed Mother. I mean, the stories are just, they're mind-blowing to me. So what's my legacy? I guess if I could have one thing that people will remember me when I'm gone, is that love is the most powerful force in the world, and she tried everything in her power to make that happen for herself and everybody that knew her. There have been a lot of risks that I have taken in my lifetime. But to be really honest, when it happened, it didn't seem like a risk. It seemed like the right thing to do. It was the only thing to do. You know, when I came and looked at this house, it was just a fluke. It was never in a million years, as I walked through this home, did I ever think that I could afford a home and buy and purchase a home like this. Never. It was a huge risk, but it was part of the divine plan. And the money came together and the situation made it all happen. And, you know, if I go back in my personal life, getting divorced, being a single mom, it was a huge risk. I had no money, but it was a better risk. It was a more calculated risk than having my light go out, being in a marriage that wasn't working. I couldn't be a mom. I couldn't work. I couldn't function because my light was always being dimmed. In the morning, I meditate. I try and meditate twice a day. And what I like to do is bring out my light, bring out my essence. That, you know, where people who see me don't see me, they see my spirit, they see my soul, they connect with that. Because all of this, it's gonna get old and it's gonna wither away, but the essence, the soul's aura is what I pull out. And oftentimes what I'll be shopping or be in the grocery store and people will look and smile and I'm like, oh, well, they're not smiling at me. I have a baseball hat on, no makeup, and I look pretty bad. And I say, no, they're smiling at your soul. They're smiling at your essence. I'm like, okay, let me do that. Let me bring that out to people. Let me be that force that makes people feel good. I feel very powerful. I feel that, not in a, well, yeah, I feel powerful and I got it all together and no matter what happens, I've got it all. Not in that way, because life can change in a heartbeat. Again, the older you get, the wiser you get, the more you realize all of this can be gone. My health can be gone. You know, it's part of the journey. And it all can, everything that you know to be true can be gone in an instant. So I don't say I'm powerful, that, you know, I'm beyond other human beings, that things aren't going to happen to me. But I am powerful in a sense that I have this unbelievable connection to God, that no matter what happens, I will always be taken care of. And that to me is power. That makes me powerful. What it means to me to be fulfilled is that I'm living my calling, my purpose, my journey. How do you go from being, you know, a waitress and really ridiculed? The rest of my siblings all went to school, and my sister married a doctor, and everybody went on to do great, unbelievable things in life. And meanwhile, I'm a waitress and I'm divorced and get married again and get divorced again, and really made really, you know, and I was gonna say poor choices, but I'm gonna take that back. I made choices. I made choices, but they were all the right choice at the time. And I learned from them, and I grew from them. It's like the Jenga game. You know, would I be sitting here today if one choice that I made was different? No, no. So we all make choices, we all take risks, we all at that moment think this is the right thing to do, and things fall apart. But through my core, it's always been this, okay, what's the reason? Where am I going? What's the next step? Once you make a mistake, and again, nobody ever makes a mistake, it is all part of the journey of your life. But once things happen, and you make a left turn, then you make another left turn, and you make another left turn, before you know it, you're just, wow, when is this gonna end? But somewhere along the way, it turns. And all the bad things that happen suddenly go the opposite way and doors open up. So what did the failure teach me? What did they all teach me? They all taught me to be resilient. They all taught me to say, you know what, watch me now. I can make it happen. I can make it happen. To have that tenacity. And life is tough. Life is tough. I don't care where you live, anywhere in the world, life is tough. You have to have that tenacity. You have to be afraid, you have to be not afraid of failure. So say, okay, I'm gonna fail. If it fails, it fails. What's the worst that can happen? All this is brick and mortar. Seriously, like I said, I can't take any of this with me. So failure is a good thing. We think it is a bad thing. It's like, we have our positive words, our negative words. Failure, negative word. It's really not. It's really not. Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, one of those, I forget which one it is a company that failed. And he was interviewed and they said, why would you have that company name in your company when you bought it and it failed? He said, it keeps me humble. It reminds me all the time that things can fail. And look at him today. Look at all the great leaders of the world. They've all failed. So failure is not a bad thing. You just have to get yourself up, pick yourself up by the bootstraps, and just keep going. And thank the people along the way that said whatever they did, because it made you stronger. Forgiveness is key. I think what happens, myself included, you can't harbor any of ill resentment to anybody because it holds you back. So just think if your life is you're running this race, right? And people have come to you and, done whatever injustice, whether it's your boss, coworker, ex-husband, family member. You're like, oh, you spend so much time on it. But really, if you can forgive them. Now, if you want to take it to another really high level of how I like to think, is everybody is where your soul wanted them to be. Your soul needed that person there at that time. Your soul needed to learn from them. So forgiveness is key. Love and forgiveness. If you don't have that in your life, and I know so many people that can't move past where they're at today because they can't let it go. Forgive it. What did Jesus Christ say on the cross? Forgive them for they know not what they do. Maya Angelou was such a great proponent of loving people. If they knew better, they would do better. So why not forgive? Why harbor? You're drinking the poison pill and expecting them to die. So forgiveness is key. So I think what happens, a lot of people have a hard time of letting things go. But you don't know my story. You don't know what happened. You don't know the situation where I grew up. You don't know what I went through. I lost everything. We've all got a story. But all of it wasn't bad. There were really bad, trying times. I get that. So the whole idea of life to me is to look at those moments and say, there were good times. There were good moments. And turn that around. And the only way you can do that is by being grateful. There are a lot of people in life that get to a certain point and they can't be grateful for what's happening today in their life because they're still stuck in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And that's over. It's done. It's been buried. And we need to let it go because it doesn't serve us well. If it's serving us well to the point of this happened to me and I'm going to make sure it never happens to anybody else, and we take it and we use it and we fly with it, then okay. But if it's not serving us well, if it's only making us miserable, you say, well, how can I get out of that? I have so much anger, I have so much resentment, I have so much angst over things that happened. Be grateful. Be grateful. If you are depressed, if you are feeling, God, I'm just at the end of my rope, you're not being grateful. What I've always felt is that when I get like that, I have really pulled away from the light of God. Because when I'm in the light of God, I feel it. I feel good, I feel grateful, I feel inspired. I feel happy. But when I have pulled away, whether it's ego, whether it's the enemy, whatever you want to call it, when I have pulled away is when I get that resentment, that, oh, well, why did that happen? Why didn't this happen? Everything was going good until this person came in. It doesn't serve me well. So I have to make a conscious choice to move over to the light. And the way you do that, the road, the path, the steps to get over to the light is through gratitude and being grateful. And be grateful for the smile of your child. Be grateful for great, unbelievable things that are happening all day long that you're not even noticing because you're still hung up on things that are long gone and buried. So to me, gratitude is the key to success, to happiness. When we're grateful, again, when I use my children as an example, when they're grateful, I want to do more. But if they're not grateful, then why do I want to do more? And I think the universe is the same way. When we're grateful, wow, things keep happening. But if we're miserable, I think the universe just kind of stops back and says, okay, we're here. We want to give you everything you want, but you need to be grateful first. I think the biggest misconception about Carolyn Gable is that everything just came so easy to me. Even though people that know me and know that, wow, unbelievable. I mean, it would be like the Chronicles of Harry Potter. You couldn't put my life in one movie. You know, how do you go from being a waitress with no education to running a company and having, you know, top customers, Fortune 50 companies be my customers? You know, what is it when I went to Time Warner, just starting out in my business, I hadn't even been in business that long, that they believed in me, that they saw something in me that other people didn't see. There was a connection there, a sincerity that I had that maybe my competitors, larger competitors didn't have. So people are, oh, you got lucky. Well, no, you're not lucky when you have them year after year after year after year. So I think the misconception is that everything came easy, that every door opened for me, that I was just, you know, an enigma. And I don't look at it that way. I look at it that I was blessed, that I took a lot of risks. I stepped out and I stepped out and I stepped out. And when you do that, you know, yeah, you're gonna swing. Keep swinging at the ball. One of these days you're gonna hit it. And once you hit it and you knock it out of the park, it's a heck of a lot better than all the other people that are on the sideline saying, no, I can't hit it. Well, you didn't even try. That's what I say. So the misconception is that, that's what I want to say, is you didn't try. You gave up. You didn't have enough confidence in yourself that you didn't think you could do it. And chances are you could. You know, the day you die, God's going to say, why did you hit the ball? Well, I was afraid to hit the ball, but why? You know, I was here. I was going to catch it for you. That's how I view people. That's how I view life. So I think the misconception is that, oh, gee, you got up to hit the ball and you knocked it out of the park. Well, I got up to hit the ball. So what's the message? Get up and hit the ball. Well, the meaning of Expect a Miracle really started when I started my company. I saw a plaque on a wall and I thought it was really cool, Expect a Miracle. And I put it up in my office. I only, at that time, had 2 or 3 employees. And we would always, when we were looking for a truck, I'm in the trucking business, I'm a freight broker, so we were looking for either a customer or for a truck. One of us would say, expect a miracle. It became our mantra. So as we moved through my company, and as I said, when we brought on Time Warner, my company doubled overnight. So it was a true call to action. I knew. I mean, when there are people that say they know, I knew then that God wasn't saying, okay, Carolyn, I'm getting you this big account for you. He was saying, I want you to give back. And so where could I give back? I was a single mom. I knew how difficult it was for single moms, especially if you're working, there is no help for you. You know, the law is so against you for child support, for hiring an attorney to go after the father of the children for money. You're left on your own. In most cases, you're left on your own. So what could I do? I had a customer that had committed a crime and he was on a work release. And he was saying that his children couldn't go to Great America that year because he had to pay this money every month, every beginning of every month for Lake County Prison. So I went there, and I had a friend of mine that lived near his home and gave his wife cash for Great America for the kids. And then it hit me. Wow, wouldn't that be great if we could do that? That if we could help children, you know, the sins of the father. They didn't do anything wrong. Why should they not be able to go to Great America because he committed a crime? So that's really how it started. We started the Expect a Miracle Foundation in 2001, and now we've helped over 8,000 children for extracurricular activities. What we have found, and I know to be true because I'm a mother, that children need to be encouraged, they need to be inspired, they need to be told, even when they strike out, that they're great, that they're wonderful, that it's going to happen the next time. And it always amazes me to think, where are these kids, where are other kids getting that? You know, as a single mom, you're tired, you come home from work, you may not have the patience to say what a coach can do. So it's all worked together. As Expect a Miracle has grown, my company has grown, we've been able to helping them helps us help. So Expect a Miracle is so beyond the little sign that I got many years ago. It is my mantra, it is my belief system, and it is probably going to be on my graveside when I die. I recognize a miracle moment in many ways. I like to think that I'm in tune. As I was leaving here the other day, as I was coming out of the driveway, you know, very slowly, there were two runners that were running on the sidewalk, and they were talking, and they had their headset on. And I mean, it was in a breath, I would have hit them. And as they didn't even see me, but as I pulled out, to me that was a miracle moment, because I started playing of all the things that could have happened if I hit those two runners. Just unbelievable. So I take those moments as miracle moments. When I'm working on an account and they call and they start to ship with me, I take that as a miracle moment. When my two children, two teenagers, are working up here in Lake Geneva, and they come home and they tell me their stories of being employed at 16 and 15, those are miracle moments. So I take every moment and see the miracle in it. And again, when I am not doing that, I am not living the life that I've been intended to live, because I'm in another place. I would say my life's calling is to help others. I have been through so much. I have had things be given to me. I have had things being taken away from me. I have been in love. I have been hurt. I have been, you know, gone through the legal system. I have worked hard. I have raised 7 unbelievable children. And if I'm just going to keep all that to myself, I don't think that that's my calling. I think my calling is to help others, to help other single moms, to help other people that say, I want more than what my life circumstances are today. And I don't know how to do it. I don't know the steps to take. I don't know how to turn that switch on. You know, I'm not educated. I don't have the resources. I didn't come from that type of family. It would never happen to me. And all I can do is sit back and say, guess what? That's my story too. But I made it happen. So God didn't give me all this to say, okay, well, Carolyn, I love you more. No, it doesn't work like that. Saying, hey, I was there for you. I got through, you know, helped you get through it all, so you now can help other people get through it. And that's what this show is about. And I'm going to hopefully bring in enough people that there will be a shift. And the world will be a better place because of this show, because of the people that have come together to put this show together. So that's my story. Please join me on Twitter at Life's Calling You. You can also join me and others on Facebook and Instagram at Life's Calling with Carolyn Gable.